Well, hello everybody. In today's video, I'm going to show you a very easy outpost setup for manufacturing. Now, I'm going to have them in different systems. You might be able to find all of these things in one system, but this is a 2 outpost setup that will have you making Tau grade rheostats and ISO-centered magnets so that you can make Comm relays. Now, this is from my intersystem cargo link video, and I will show you how to set up intersystem cargo links in this video as well. This is a Let's Play series showing you every single step. It's a long format. If you don't like long formats, I don't blame you for not watching the rest of this video, but I will have an enormous amount of information which you may find useful, and I'm going to keep this a good flow. So to start this off, we are going to be setting up on just 2 outposts in Bessel 3B for the nickel, cobalt, and platinum. You don't need platinum really for a lot of things, but it's just kind of nice to have whatever resources you can get. But if you find a spot that doesn't have platinum, don't worry about that. You don't need it. What you'll see here is I have fabricators, and these fabricators are offloading into warehouse storage, and you need quite a bit of warehouse storage. They can only hold so many. Yeah, you can see here you need aluminum, adaptive frames, and titanium. Now, one thing that you're really going to need for this build to tie everything together for the warehouse storage, you're going to need a lot of titanium. Now, in the Sol system on Pluto, you can actually get titanium very easily. My suggestion here is to go to any of the frozen mountain biomes, slap down an extractor, and just get as much titanium as you possibly can, and then delete the outpost. Pretty simple, straightforward. That's the best way to get a bunch of a certain resource, and you will need relatively high volumes of this, probably somewhere around a couple thousand. And there's also tungsten on Pluto too, just making it overall a really good place to get everything. Now, this is an extreme environment, and I'm able to land on it on my main character because I do have the required prerequisite skills. If you're looking for something easier, Vega, which is just north right here above Narion system, northeast of Bessel, right here, Vega. On Vega 2B, there is titanium, and there should be no extreme conditions for this one. So you can land anywhere there's frozen plains, which is the whole damn thing, and you can get titanium that way for your mass storage. They'll be a lot easier than buying it at the store. We can see here they're only holding 167 ISO-centered magnets, right? So the fabricators are cool for the purposes of making a manufacturing outpost. I'll show you exactly how to do that, but my recommendation is that you make all this shit by hand, and you don't even use the cargo links and all that, because quite honestly, they're just kind of a waste of space. This gives you 3 different things you're going to be producing for XP. The ISO-centered magnets will get you 1, but the comm links will get you 2 XP. So what you can do is basically just go to 1 outpost, get all the materials to make all the ingredients, fly back here, and then just start mass crafting everything. And I'll show you that process at the end of the video. But now let's talk about setting these outposts up. Only 1 biome for the Bessel 3B outpost. Most people already have their iron and they have all that other stuff. I have a 2 biome that's just iron, aluminum, right over here. Most people have that. You will need an enormous amount of iron, aluminum, and adaptive frames for this build. Everything else is pretty cheap. You have pretty much with the nickel and the cobalt here, you have unlimited wind generation, and every other little thing you're just going to need to go buy and produce. It shouldn't really take you too long, and you don't really need a lot of extractors for this methodology. The location I have for this, as you can see on this map, a lot of people are down over here. If you just go northeast of the location that most people have their base, I have the perfect spot, just dab center right here. But essentially right here is perfect because you got platinum, you got cobalt, and you got nickel, and this is all in the hills. Now, pretty much any hill is going to have this. In theory, you should be able to find this on any single hill biome. I'm just using this as a frame of reference. So let's say right here, we're just going to land. Our first goal is to find the outpost. I'm going to show you how to find this stuff. So right here we have platinum, nickel, and here we go, platinum, nickel, cobalt. So we have a perfect location right here. So this will be the first base location. Let's just make sure that these are sufficient. So you can change a lot of the translation and rotation speed stuff here. Outpost rotation, I would leave it 1, but when you're trying to fine tune and perfect things, those are really useful. All right, we got an enormous amount of platinum, which is unnecessary. And we're actually, the nickel is over here, and the cobalt is not showing up properly. So we're just gonna reset this. That looks better over there. One problem is though is that the you can create red zones like you see here when you do this. I noticed this in my last video. So you do actually want to be relatively careful. You might need to run quite a distance away to reset your stuff. So that is one issue that you might come across when you're trying to move your outpost like this. So let's find something a little bit further away. We got big platinum veins here. We got an enormous amount of platinum pretty much everywhere. Platinum, platinum, platinum. Okay, so over here, you can see we have a pretty favorable spot. So platinum's not an issue. Nickel right there. It looks like we do have a weird little cutoff. I think this is actually sufficient. I think we can fit 4 in there. And then cobalt over here. It's gonna be a tight fit. I think we can make this work. I think we can make this work just fine. I might actually only have 2 extractors in my setup too, but we'll see. I would, if you have the capacity to build the bigger extractors, you definitely should, just to speed it up. I'm gonna just go with basic parts for this video. All right, cool. So I feel sufficient that this is good for instructional purposes as a base. I would probably spend some more time finding something much better, but we're just gonna call this Bessel Outpost, and then the other base is gonna be A. There we go. Cool. So just straight northeast is Andromas, and Andromas has an amazing moon, 6B. Terrible time dilution, but that's fine because we're not gonna be doing anything here really. We're just going to be doing our outpost. So what you're going to need for this, personally, is I want the helium, I want copper, and I want beryllium. We can find that on the frozen plains. We can find copper, find beryllium in the craters. So you have to find a spot where both of those converge. This is incredibly, incredibly easy. So if you just go to any of the northern sides and look for where the craters and the frozen plains converge, you can do this relatively easy. We're gonna do this right over here. So we can see right here we have frozen craters and then froze craters again. And then we just wanna find where the craters stop and the frozen plains go. Blah, blah, blah. Right there, frozen plains, craters. So this is actually the easiest 2 biomes to ever connect in the history of anything, because the frozen plains are white and the craters are brown. So, oh, that sucks. They put me outside. So you actually want to just look around in your ship view for the brown. So you can see I'm looking. I don't see the brown biome converging. So I'm not even going to get out of my ship to look. I'm literally just going to find another one and try to land. So here's craters, here's frozen plains, good enough. Same concept, bird's eye view. So I can see through the fog right there that it's brown. You can see that. So we literally just spawned it right next to where 2 biomes converge. And this is my tip for when you're trying to find where any biomes converge, is figure out which each of them look like. On Bessel 3B, it has a lot of distinguishing marks. We didn't need any of them. Crap, I got turned around. There we go. There's the brown. But for things like this, if you can find any place with a frozen or white snow biome that has something you need, it's typically incredibly easy to find border zones. And what you do is you just run towards that border, the brown, and then you're going to run along the border until you find all the ingredients. Now, it's important to note here that you don't have to get out and look for this shit. You can just look from your ship to see where the colors change. That's what makes this one of the easiest setups. Alright, you can see the brown off in the distance now. We're getting close. Alright, let's juice up. Do some of that amp. If you haven't seen my amp guide, it's the best outpost you can ever make as far as money goes. It's also great for XP. A lot of what we do in Starfield isn't about best methods. It's just about having fun. It's just about doing something different. So you can see here's the white, here's the brown. This is where the 2 converge. Now, you can see any resource regardless of your scanning ability when you place an outpost. So we can see here we have the copper and the helium-3. This is beautiful. There's fluorine over there. But we're looking for beryllium, copper, and helium. So we're just gonna trek until we find it. And sometimes, you know, we got copper in the frost and we got beryllium in the crater biome. So all I do is I just make sure I'm following this, and it's really right here. Okay, cool. I don't like this spot though because it's got this big ass rock, but that might be okay. But we got copper, beryllium, helium-3, so this is perfect. Ooh, we even got fluorine over here. I'm gonna let it go, but that would be kind of cool to get the fluorine, but for the purposes of this video, it's not important. So you can see the biome went over this way. Oh wait, no, this actually is a perfect spot. We're gonna try to place it kind of between both biomes right here. So we have an enormous amount of beryllium and an enormous amount of copper. At least 4 extractors is all you need. So now we have both outposts, but that's how easy it is to find these outposts. Like I said, the Bessel 3B one is literally just 1 biome, and this one is 2 biomes, but they're so easy to find because of the color disparity between each biome. So this will be Andro Outpost A. Cool, we have our outpost. So now the goal is to build everything. So I'm gonna go and just destroy my old outposts and get all the materials. You're essentially gonna need your basic stuff, just enough tungsten, an enormous amount of adaptive frames, iron and aluminum. I have several guides on how to set that stuff up on my YouTube page, so go ahead and check that out, or ask me in the comment section for a link if you don't have it. It's pretty much everyone has those videos. So you just need, you know, your basic tungsten, iron, aluminum. You can buy those materials. The tungsten you can buy pretty easily at the vendors, and you should already have, like I said, a bunch of iron and aluminum. The wind turbines are nickel cobalt, which you're going to get from this operation. So you can set down your extractors, have 1 or 2 wind turbines, and then you have unlimited wind turbines there. And then the storage you're going to need is just, you know, more iron, aluminum, and adaptive frames. I'm going to be using the large storage for this, but you can use small storage. Just make sure that you don't have more than 60 consecutive storages linked together. You can have more than 60 links in a build, but once you go over 60 consecutive links, it bugs the fuck out. I've read so many comments from so many people saying my entire outpost shut down, blah, 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 and then this is always it. It's happened to me, I think at least 7 times now. In test, like, so it's pretty consistently shit. So we've identified both locations. I am going to destroy my original outpost and then reconstruct it so you know how I do it and how I connect everything, and then show you the XP farm. So the first base we're going to build out is the one on Bessel, the nickel and cobalt. Essentially it's going to look something like this, with massive matrix of connections and fabricators, but I'm going to show you how to do this stuff all step by step. So let's delete this bad boy and start the process. Alright, now we're going to go to the outpost we selected earlier. We're going to build this bad boy from scratch. Alright, now as I mentioned, we just want 1 platinum extractor, and this is just to have. You don't need it. It's just an extra resource that maybe at some point in the future you will find a need for. And then we're going to try to place as many nickel extractors as possible. I think I can get 4. That's what I want to go for. Yeah, I can get 4. So I've explained this before, but you can't have the radius of the circle intersecting the center point of another extractor. So the dead center of the extractor sets those thresholds, so you can kind of see what you can do. It's pretty easy to know if you're going over your limit. And let's find that cobalt right over here. Now cobalt has a pretty insane radius. This one is going to be trickier to get 4. And I'm hoping I can do it. Looks like I'm only going to be able to do 3 here. And that's not necessarily bad. 3 is fine. Definitely would have been nice to have gotten 4. It's just not going to happen. Again, I probably need to find a better spot, but for the purposes of what we're doing, this is definitely sufficient. And then I have a bunch of advanced wind turbines I can place down. I hate the clipping on the advanced wind turbines. I tend to actually go with a lot of the solar domes. These are really cheap because they're just aluminum and the Tau grade rheostats, which we're producing a metric F-ton of. So, and you don't get the same graphical clipping that you get with the wind. So it's one of the reasons I like to use them. The only problem with these, though, is they are sometimes hard to place on uneven terrain. And I just kind of centralize this stuff. The wind turbines are definitely one of the easier ones because they just go straight up. So we can just place a bunch of these bad boys. And we're going to need quite a bit of power. Quite a bit of power for a manufacturing build. So, more of the solar domes. Yeah, the solar here isn't very good. And neither is the wind on Bessel, to be honest. You need a lot more power here. And that's one of the advantages to the reactor, because they're not location dependent. You get 30 no matter what. And the big reactor is really nice too. Yeah, so you only get 6 for the big wind turbine, which really sucks. So we've placed enough of that stuff, and we'll figure everything else out later. So let's get the first things first kind of stuff going. So here is our titanium. So this one is not going to be... Okay, yeah, we need our transfer station, and we need our landing point. So it's good to keep it near where you made your outpost. I've heard people saying that there is... If you do move the outpost beacon, which will change your spawn location, the circle will stay the same, but people are reporting errors, so they've been telling me not to do that. I've noticed like a few things, but to be honest, I haven't noticed too much to make me not want to still do it, but I'm going to heed caution. Better to err on the side of caution sometimes, right? So we're going to put the landing pad small here. We all spawn in together, and I always like to set up the basics. So an industrial workbench and like either a bench or a bed. Beds are always nice because you don't have to click 2 buttons to wait. Go right to sleep, but looks like we're just going with a bench for now. Cool. Solid storage. All right. We're going to do one big storage there, and we're going to connect this platinum extractor. So if we ever need platinum, we can just run over there and get it. Again, not a big deal. And then for these bad boys over here, we're going to just do a big old stack of storage. And we can make this as high as we want. Since we're not going to have 60 links in this connector, I am actually going to have all these guys just pile into one box instead of having storage separate for each extractor. And I always like to put one guy on the bottom for all the storage. Or sorry, for all the extractors to plug into. So if you tab out and tab back in, it usually will get you back up there. And then you can go. Yeah, that's usually the best way to stack. So instead of using snap points, just tab out, tab back in. And it lets you go for quite a bit. You can see we were able to stack quite a bit of these. And so the one box here I use just as a reference point. It just really makes things easier for me. And we're going to connect everything last step. Okay, cool. Same situation over here. And again, once you notice you're starting to have to use a lot of snap points, just tab out. This is probably the most annoying thing about the large containers. Okay. Alright. And it does look like I'm going to need a little bit more iron and aluminum because I'm going a little crazy here. So I'm just going to go grab those things at my other outpost real quick, but I'm not going to make you watch that. Now I could very easily have something weird like this too. Just a big old T. We're just going to go with it because I'm so over this. All right, we're going with a giant T. And of course, we're going to have the one box at the bottom. Connect all of these too. All right, perfect. So the next thing we need are the warehouse storage, and then we'll put the fabricators down. So again, 1 box for all that. Then big old stack. Sometimes these things are easy. And this is actually where you're going to want the most storage. So I might even do 2 sets of these. Looks like we need a little bit more titanium, so I'm going to go get that real quick. This is where you're going to want the most storage though, because this is the final product. That's interesting. So what I've just discovered is when it crosses like that, if you just tab out and let it place down normally, and then you come back and tab, it will start on top. You see how it's sideways here? If I do this, place it normally, then tab out, pop up, right on top. That's cool. That's a neat little trick. You have to make sure you tab out though, so that it keeps the position. Perfect. All right, well that's probably enough right there. And now we're gonna place the fabricators. So you go over to Simple Fabricator, and you scroll over with the arrow keys to what we want to make, which is the isocentered magnets, which is nickel and cobalt. And we're gonna place probably at least 6 of these bad boys. I think I have 8 in the design. Screw it. 8 it is. You could definitely get away with less. Okay, cool. So in order to do all of this, we need to get all of our stuff in order. That's why I like to use 1 ground unit though, is so that in overview mode I can easily attach it, and then I go into ground mode and I do the big stuff, which I'll show you right now. Alright, this one is connected, it's just really faint. Okay, cool. We got all these guys connected, and we need to connect everything else. I will try not to move as much as possible, as I'm basically having a seizure every time I move because of the amount of weight I have. So we know everything's connected here, so we're just going to do this one at a time till we get to the very, very top. And then we're going to connect it to our transfer box, and I'll show you why later. But I could tell you why. It's so that we can just pull all the resources here and craft them elsewhere if we want. And I'm actually going to delete the top box just so I know which one is the top for the next thing that I do. All right, and then we're going to link all these. It'll be important to know which one's the top without any error when we link them to the fabricators. Cool. And the top box will be linked over here into the transfer station. And then we can get all this in order. Bring that to the bottom down here, all the way up. We just got to remember which one's which, but that's really easy to know when you see all the doohickeys going. Then right into here. Alright, and then this is going to be the harder part, which is making sure all the fabricators are good. And it's a little difficult because we can't see everything. Alright, we can see the top box over there, and we can see the top box here. This is actually perfect. Okay, cool. So we're going to start with linking the materials into the first simple fabricator. So that will bring in whatever the hell's over there, which I think is like nickel or cobalt. And so then we just need to link into each of the fabricators the top box so that it feeds into the fabricators. And we need one more power to power everything. I may have missed one, but that's okay. Just see which one's not highlighted. Yep, missed this guy over here. Okay. And we can see that each one of these guys has an arrow going into it, which means it is good to go. All right. Top box time. So, same process. That's why it looks like such a light show over here. All right, we got all of them. Okay, so there we go. Now they're going to start producing. We just need to get one more piece of gear up, but got ourselves a nice little web of red. One more wind turbine or two. There we are. So now it's going to start making the iso-centered magnets, and everything is in order. And just to make sure, we're going to place a bench down, and we're just going to rest a bit. 4 hours here being 231 UT. This is definitely a good place for this stuff. And then, of course, you can make this all by hand, which is probably going to be my recommendation. But if you don't want to do that, you can just do this. So yeah, it's working. We already got a massive amount of storage going. So you can see how quickly you can actually get these components. It's mainly just an issue of your storage, so titanium is going to be key. All right, and we're going to do the cargo links last. So now we need to head over to the other outpost, and once both outposts are up, we'll go over connecting everything. Now we're going to Andromas. So I'm going to destroy my original outpost and then rebuild it for you on the spot that we picked out. All right, let's put down the basics. Got our transfer station right here. There we go. Now everything's going hunky-dory. Industrial workbench. Bench. There we go. All the basics. And a small landing pad. Right here. Cool. So, cool thing about this location is we could put helium extractors anywhere. I just place, they take it from the air. So we'll do 4 of these. It's more than enough. And we'll just do them right here. And then we need beryllium. And we only need really like 4 extractors for this. We have plenty of room so we don't have to think. And then we need 4 copper extractors. And this is great because everything's in one like general vicinity. So we can just place everything really quick. Cool. Well, that's everything there. And you don't need a whole lot of the helium-3 storage, just enough for when we get our next intersystem cargo link going. So that will do it right there. Just one on the ground. And we'll do power last when we know what our power demands are. And I'm not going to connect the helium-3 to the transfer station, the transfer container, because I don't really plan on taking helium-3 anywhere. And if I need it, I can just walk up and get a little bit. I'm not going to need a lot of it. Okay. Yeah, I feel like we could even get, we can get this the simple fabricators down since we're on it right here. So we want to go to the Tau grade rheostats. That's what we're making here. Right? And then we can place 8 of these bad boys down. That's going to be annoying having to spin them each time. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. I guess I could just change my orientation. I don't know. Yep, yeah, I could. Sometimes I make things much harder on myself than they need to be. Okay, so the solar domes here get 4 and the wind gets 6. Oh yeah, so power is even worse here. But at least it's flat enough that I can actually do this stuff. And let's take a word of advice from ourselves, and all right, we'll do power last, like I was talking about earlier. Let's get storage up. So again, we're not going to have over 60 boxes, so we really just need enough. And we'll stack this as high as we can. And using the strategy of just tabbing in and out to get it to stack tall. Okay, that is a pretty extreme amount right there. I feel quite happy with that. And one box on the ground. Oh, nice. If you just go to on the left side. So when we saw it going to the right, here, I'll show you if it does it again. Of course, it doesn't do it when I do it right. I noticed if you figure out what direction it tends to lean to, if you hold yourself on the left side or the opposite side, it doesn't ever ask you again. The problem is that, so you see how I placed on the right side, so it went right? If I hold it to the left, it doesn't do that. It just stacks infinitely upwards. So we don't have to do any of that crazy stuff that I was talking about. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's neat. That's a new trick for me. All right, and then the warehouse is going to be the next one. That's so cool now that I know how that works. Yeah, just make sure you're holding it to the left side. All right, we need a little bit of adaptive frames. That's not a problem. Got ourselves a bench. We got plenty of iron and aluminum. See how it's gravitating towards this side? So if I hold myself on the opposite side here, it will never ever snap to that other point again. It will just continue straight up. That's so neat. It's probably not enough, but it's probably enough for now. Not enough for my appetite, but more than enough for what we're trying to do. This will be a lot easier to link. Okay, cool. So, I mean, we've pretty much done everything here. And we do know that the power cost is going to be 100 on this. So just spamming energy cost now. So let's do that. We got lots of solar domes we can place. You know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna go with the shitty sideways thing it gives me. I tried changing my orientation and it just was wrong in a different direction. So we'll just go with it. Embrace it. Yeah, 4 power is not really good. 3 power is pretty good for the small guys here. I really hate, like I said, I really hate the advanced wind turbines because, like, the graphics on them clip. I feel like they cause lag. Just personal preference here. Boom. Okay, so we got all our power. So now all we got to do is link all this jazz. And we're going to do that on foot. And the best way to do this on foot. So let's get this going. And this is rather high, but it's rather awesome. You definitely can see it. Jeez. It's so tall that it's actually getting hard for me to do it. Alright, and that's the warehouse one. We don't want to touch that one yet. And I'm just right-clicking and then right-clicking to snap the point. Shit. Okay, cool. These warehouses set up. All right. And snap in the transfer station. All right, here's where the fun begins. Connecting all of these with this. So again, I have Sauron down into each and every fabricator. There we go. Same thing over here. Make sure you get the right one. All right. Nothing else is blue, so we know it's all connected. And there you go. You've done it. We've connected everything. So, that's it. I know everything's working too. So now we're going to set up our inter-system cargo links. And you very well could do 3 inter-system cargo links between here and there if you wanted more things to come in faster. I'm just going to do 1. And I'm actually going to advise you probably don't even bother with this, though it is like slightly nice. So here's the fuel line. I don't think we connected the fuel. I don't think we linked the fuel storage. No, we did not. All right, so let's get this proper. All right, so we're gonna take the end of the fuel and we're gonna plug it in. Now you only have to power one side, so we're gonna place another inter-system cargo link at the other outpost, but we're not even gonna bother with the helium-3. You don't need it. We're gonna have the goods come back. No. We're not. We're gonna send the goods from here to Bessel. That sounds better. All right. So there's incoming. There's outgoing. We want to connect the finished product to the outgoing. So what the fabricators are making, we're doing the warehouse. And look in the top left, and it tells you what kind of box it is. If you're having a problem distinguishing between the solid storage and warehouse, you can see top left it says warehouse. That's how I know that. So it's going to craft all that stuff, and it's going to send it to the next planet that I connect to this. Now keep in mind that it sends in real time, about every 3 minutes, but it does send about 700 units. So this is really beneficial for when you come back after a really long period of just playing the game normally. It will save you like that trip. But to be honest, these things are so buggy that they don't really save you that much time. I think it's better just to go to the outpost and pick up all the materials. But now we can make the rheostat discs here, so we're in good shape. All right, so now we're going to Bessel to place the other inter-system cargo link. We've already powered it from that side, so we don't have to worry about anything but receiving over here. Go to Bessel Outpost B, and you can decide which place you want to be your main place. All right, here we go. And so all we have to worry about here is the incoming box. And so we do need an enormous amount of storage for that. But what's cool is we'll be able to make the comm links here just by going up to the bench. We won't even have to gather any of the resources. That's the one advantage to this. But again, because the system is kind of wonky, it's really up to you. I'll show you multiple methods of doing all this stuff. And you're going to want, you know, a pretty comparable storage system. So I think that this is great. So we have our green incoming, and we're going to link that here. And then we're going to link all of this stuff together. gets a little hard to see through all the red lines. Shit. Just remember where you start off from. It's really easy to tell when you mess up because everything that it's not connected to is blue. So if you see any blue below it, means you touched the wrong one. Okay. And we're not going to really... You know, I'm going to plug it in the transfer station, but only... no, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it there. Because we're just basically going to come here to get everything. Alright, and then at this point, we're done. I'm going to ditch all the stuff I have on me to show you what this looks like with nothing. And we're going to connect the two outposts. There we go. 0 outpost A. Now they're connected. Now it's going to bring those materials here. And that takes, like I said, roughly about 3 minutes. But then now what we can do is just walk straight up. Once it brings the material, we can walk straight up to a bench right over here. And we can make comm links. Now the first ship isn't going to have anything on it because it's the first ship. And it's literally just landing to take things from here to the next station. But that we're not sending anything out. We have one Tau grid rheostat somewhere here. But you can see the ISO-centered magnets are pulling from the warehouse inventory from what's being produced here. But let's just do the one. So right there you can see we got the 2 XP. So what I'm going to suggest is that you just make this stuff because you can spam it just like you do adaptive frames. So you see we got the cobalt, we got the nickel. So let's sleep a little bit to let all of the storages fill with raw material. Yeah, 1,000 hours ought to do it. You could definitely probably just do 300 or 400. Okay, that was like, I stopped it early. So you can see that the ship's still there. It's finally moseying along. Everything else, however, is going to start filling up. So all of the warehouses that were producing things here locally are running in UT time, but it's just the transport. So we can see that cobalt seems to be the big bottleneck right now, and that's probably because I only had 3 extractors. That's fine because it didn't matter because it's like with time it fills up the whole thing. So all of these are full. So we have an immense amount of resources. Cool. So we can wait on a delivery to happen, which is the shitty way to do this, or we can just produce everything here, which is the best way to do this. So what we're going to do is just make all the ISO-centered magnets, and we're going to spam it. And again, most of the cobalt went into producing everything, so there's not much left. There's actually not much materials left at all. We're just going to wait 2 hours. That should fill up all the remaining storage. Alright, cool. Now we got cobalt again. So we should have enough to make several thousand. Just off a couple hours, we should have enough to make several thousand of these. Yeah, we got it in the bag now. So we're spamming XP this way. Cool. We definitely could probably use a little bit more storage. Let's wait 5 hours and see how much cobalt that gets us. Yeah, with better extractors, more extractors, this is going to be a lot easier, but relatively 4 hours can get us several thousand of these, so. Again, I'm hitting enter, clicking quantity 99, hitting enter, clicking to quantity, and just repeating. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care if it's 98 or 99. Close enough. There we go, 99. Okay. So yeah, we were able to create, and it's 1 for 1. So I mean, we just created probably like 3,000 of these. So yeah, we have 5,600 of these now. And we have a ton in storage. Now, in order to get them out of storage, we can walk up to the transfer container, and you can see we can take them out. Now, we kind of need to take everything. And sometimes it gets a little funky when you have a bunch of a material. And so you just have to look away real quick and come back in. Usually I can just spam it the whole time, but sometimes it gets glitchy. Okay, here we go. So when you have one amount of a material, like, you don't have to look away if you have two in there. So I could just keep hitting this. So now you can see we can just pull thousands of these isocentered magnets pretty rapidly. You could, you know, go up to the boxes and try this, but I think it would take you longer. So we're just gonna spam this until we get all of it. Cool. So we just emptied our entire base, and I have 6,000 nickel and 17,000 isocentered magnets. Now I don't care about the nickel, and I don't care about anything else. So I'm just gonna keep the isocentered magnets. So 17. So if I can get 17,000 Tau grade rheostats, that's about 34,000 experience we're going to be able to craft from that. And then plus, if you want to go sell those things, then you have the money. Cool. So, I mean, we've linked the base. You can see that it's working. It's very slow. That's my point, is if I were to come back here, I could build the comm links. Like if I came back here after 2 hours, after it had delivered the Tau grade rheostats, I could come back and craft everything here, but you're not going to have 17,000 worth like that. So it's like a combination of crafting and crafting is like the best medium, in my opinion. Like, forget the cargo links, but definitely use the fabricators. I mean, I crafted what, like 6,000, but from my storage I pulled like 11,000. So that's pretty crazy. And you don't have the same time dilution here, so I'm only going to be able to craft as much as in storage. So storage is king at places like this. It looks like I fucked up somewhere because there should be an enormous amount of material here. It looks like I forgot to attach the fucking extractors to the first box. My bad. I was gonna leave that part out, but it's pretty obvious that was the problem. We're gonna go sleep on Venus, and we'll just sleep for a bit. Yeah, 11,000 hours should definitely have been enough for all my storage to fill. So we don't need to take anything from storage. It's all there. We just have to walk up to the bench. Another great thing. And so now we can make a shitload of comm relays for 2 experience, but first we need to make all the Tau grade rheostats we possibly can. And these sell for a lot of money on their own. Looks like we don't have a lot of beryllium because it was used to feed all of these. I'm just going to continue on because we have an enormous amount of comm relays. So I think we have several. We'll see how many we have at the end of this. So now we spam this, and now we're getting 2 experience a pop. So we're getting, I mean, if you spam this fast enough, that's 200 a craft. So, I'm making thousands of experience per every other second because of how quickly I'm crafting these. You're only getting 2 experience per craft, but I'm crafting 99 at a time. So, yeah, don't get fooled by that shit. This is only about like 200. 217. There's a little bit of extra experience going on with this. It must be because I'm well rested. Yeah, if you can get yourself well rested and get any you have good affinity with one of your companions, that will do it too. But yeah, you can see here we're just printing XP at this point. So you get the XP from creating the Tau grade rheostats and the isometric unit, the isocentered magnets, and we have so many. I mean, we have like 10,000, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know how much XP this is in total. We'll see how many levels I have at the end of this. I can tell you that my fingers are getting numb. And you're probably getting a seizure from watching this, so I might need to like put up a puppy gif. A puppy gif, I don't know. Yeah, this is pretty extreme. Pretty extreme. Jeez Louise. I don't know how many levels that is. I didn't have any extra points when I started. So I got 3 levels, but I'm 118. That was pretty extreme. Let's see how many we got. I have 64,000 pounds on me. That's a pretty good sign that we have a lot. 18,423 comm relays, each worth 1117. These will probably sell for about 18 a pop. Yeah, 18,000 times 18, 324,000. Yeah, that's a bit of money. I prefer my amp farm. I just wanted the XP, but that's a really easy setup you can do. Most likely you already have the Bessel base, so you really just need to come here and make tower grade rheostats, and you can do that all. You will most likely need to invest in some skill points. Planetary habitation. No, you do. It has deep freeze. You need the first rank. The first rank of planetary habitation. You got it. Like, honestly, if you want to make cool bases in this game, you have to get planetary habitation, because the best planets are usually on the deep freezes and infernos. And it also increases the amount of outposts you can build. And the last one, I mean, you have up to 16 more additional outposts. And yeah, it opens up a whole new world for you. But yeah, 3 skill points goes quite a bit. I probably need to put a little bit more into combat. I know I want to get my armor penetration all the way up. Outpost management's a good one too. I got rank 1, which allows me to have more cargo links. The next one, more robots. The next one, more crew at outposts. And then this one's pretty cool because extractors go fast. All right. Anyway, that's it. That's how you make these massive manufacturing setups. This is a really, really basic one. And I hope you enjoyed the video.